Hello. Hey, thanks. Anyone who's watching, thanks. Welcome to episode number 21 after some time of not doing these things. Glad to have with us two great guys, Francisco and Victor. I'm not gonna do a long introduction. It's just a couple of software engineers with I would say a little bit more than 10 years of experience in the area, back end, front end, whatever. You can see by the background, musicians as well. Great to have you. How are you guys? How are you? I'm going to start with you, Francisco. How's it going?
Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Hector. Sorry for the invite. We really appreciate to be here. So let's have some fun today.
Excellent. Hey, what's up, Victor?
Nothing. All is good, man. Thanks for the invite. I'm really glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, thanks to you guys to accept. Actually, this is the first one that we have with two guests, with two special guests. So it'll be fun to have our first video with three people here. We can discuss any topic or pinpoint any idea. But well, let's start with you, Francisco. How's it going? Normally, I will start asking the people what brought you to the software developer world. What, in summary, what is your story? Whatever you want to share, because I know you for a while. I mean, we used to work on a couple of same companies. we share in common same companies in the past. But before that, how did you start in the software development area, and how has been your journey so far?
Well, I will say that is in some way kind of interesting in the way that I wasn't sure like if I was going to take this path initially. Even when I started in the IT area, I was just working on IT support. But then I started to go and learn deeper in the software development uh, process for the company that I was working for. So then I decided to join the team of software developers in that company. From that moment till now, I will say that it has been a long journey, but I have learned a lot of great things. I will say to all the people that is interested in this area that is uh, really awesome, but it's moving so fast. So you need to keep learning all the time, but it's something that you will really enjoy if this is what you want.
Excellent, totally agree. Before moving on, do you specialize? I mean, we all kind of specialize in something in this world. Do you specialize on any technology, or do you have more experience in some stack?
Well, yeah, most of my expertise is in the Microsoft stack that involves like all the .NET framework, SQL Server, Azure platform. But along the journey, you start to learn different languages. You try to avoid to just focus on some particular technology because you start to learn that each technology is bringing you some new capabilities, and also it will bring you some new challenges. So I will also tell to all the people that is just starting this journey, then don't try to just focus on one language or one technology. I mean, it would be good if you start with one. And even in my days, we don't used to have like this front end development and back end development. All the people was like full stack. But now, if you are just after you choose like one of these specializations, uh, try to don't just focus on one language. Let's say you focus on the front end, try to learn different frameworks and libraries, and it's going to be the same in the back end. Try to learn not just uh, C Sharp, try also to learn Python, Go, because that will give you better chances even to find jobs and to understand better how are the things working in the background.
Excellent. We will further discuss all those things because I have I also have some comments to mention on that. But first, before that, let's go ahead with you, Victor. What's your story? How did you get started in this software developer world?
Yeah, well, it's I was going to say funny, but I don't think it's funny. But well, basically, similar to Francisco regarding the university. Back then, I used to have a death metal band, so I needed a work where I didn't have to be like in the same place. So I was thinking like, okay, what's the second thing that I like the most besides music? And those were computers. I used to spend a lot of time on my computer. I remember my first approaches to code was actually coding my MySpace. I know, if you guys remember, but you were able to insert your HTML and things like that. So basically, that's why I chose the career. And I actually learned to code in the university. I didn't know that you had to code. I entered into the career thinking that you were just going to learn how to use several programs, but I didn't know about coding. But something fun is that I found out that coding has the same mindset as music, which is an abstract way of thinking. So that helped me to speed up in the learning curve. And so far, it has been great because more than a developer, I consider myself a person who likes to build things. I like to create a song. I like to create software. I like to try to fix things at my house. So that's how I got here.
All right. I have actually so many questions to ask you, Victor. If you don't mind, Francisco, I think
Go ahead.
I know. I mean, you're involved in music. I mean, did you study something related to engineering at least, or how did you get the basics of computer development? Because you say you studied a little bit of coding at school, right? In the university, exactly.
Yeah. I had my first approaches to engineering actually at the university, and it was a little bit tough because I'm going to be honest, I was a party man back then. So it was at the beginning I thought I wasn't going to make it, but I have to leave the parties aside and start to get more into the library. I remember going to the university from 7 to 3, and then from 4 p.m. to 9 o'clock I was at the library, because back then, and you guys are going to remember, we didn't have the internet as we have today. We have to go to the books. So back then I was learning Java, and actually I learned a lot of Java, but from the books back then. So it was tough, but it was a fun, how do you call that, walkthrough. Fun ride. I would call it like that.
Nice. Yeah, I remember back those days. It was really different as we have it today.
Yeah.
Today's in the sense of learning, I could say, I mean, this is subjective, but I could say it could be easier because you have so many tools. But yeah, I remember those days. But I also want to ask you, what's your opinion, or how is music and doing code, or being a software engineer alike? What are the similarities in your opinion? I ask you because I see in the background you have.
Yeah, I have my
have
guitars.
you
Actually,
have
this is
your
my
acoustic.
engagement guitar. I gave that to my wife. She's a musician as well.
Nice.
Yeah, well, answering your question, the most likely is that you are creating something. At the beginning, yes, we have the paradigms, we have the patterns in development, as well as in music. We have a specific melodies, specific chords. A chord is constructed based on 3 different notes, things like that. So, but at the root, I would say you have the creativity. I remember actually really fast, like 5 years ago or 6 years ago with a friend, we were used to joke to each other and say, "Hey, man, we are not engineers, we are artists. So don't criticize my code. We are just like doing a painting," and things like that. But yeah, basically, again, answering your question, it's about building stuff, building a craft. But within time, the crafter has to know basic rules that are going to make your craft even better.
Nice. I like that. I mean, it is. I mean, I do agree. It is like a, well, it could sound weird or pretentious. I don't know what's the word to say. Like, we are artists. I don't know. I don't want to, because I have so much respect to artists and musicians. You can see the background. I also have some guitars because I also like music. But I don't consider myself superb or anything. I just like it as a hobby. Obviously, I have dedicated to software engineering, and that's what fits me and my and my family, along with also my wife's work. But yeah, it's an interesting mindset to see like we are kind of artists, but also that we need to follow certain rules, right? Because at the end, this is not subjective. Either the code works or not. Either the code is scalable or not. Or either the performance is horrible or not. That's agree. That's really where the point is, right? The main difference that you can have in music as well.
Yeah.
There are some common. There's pop music that most people like pop music. There's special niche side music that only certain people like. That in that place it differs a little bit, but I like the way you see it. I like it. So interesting thing. I mean, I could be talking about music and coding for so much time.
It's because it has a lot of similarities. I mean, they are basically it's an abstract thinking. So even Francisco, you can learn how to play an instrument, and it will be easy for you because you already have the abstract mindset. You might say, "Oh, my fingers, I don't know how to move them," but I can assure you that in regards to paper, you could learn how to read music.
I will try.
It is. I mean, there's also another thing, another similarity that came to my mind before jumping to talk again about software only. another thing that jumped to my mind, it's the patience.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it could be necessary for a lot of things, right? But for example, when you're debugging, how much time don't you spend on a simple thing? Hours? I mean, you spend hours on a simple thing, and then you debug, and then you don't find it. You need a lot of patience sometimes to solve a stupid thing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes in music, you need patience to just make something work. I mean, if you're playing a guitar, to play a riff the way it needs to be, you need a lot of patience. You need hours of practicing, and then go and then come back, and that's it. I agree. I would also mention a lot of patience.
Yep.
A lot of patience, in my opinion and in my experience. But I mean, let's stick to the to our software development side. And going back to you, Francisco, I know you have so many years in this area. What has worked for you? I mean, in all the expertise you have in all your projects, what would you already mentioned some recommendations, but more like global recommendation that please do not stick to a certain language or some of those things. But what would you recommend to all the people, especially new guys coming, like good habits or any nice paths to take in this software development area?
Like even before to mention one habit or one good thing that you can do as a software developer, something that you were mentioning, it's really important to mention. Even one of the best books for software developers is mentioned this. You would mention that what we do is like our craft, because at the end of the day, you should consider like an artist, something like that. What you mentioned, because uh, the way that you code in some ways kind of unique, right? Because the ideas that are coming are only coming to you. Even if you give us a problem to all of us, we will solve it in each of us will solve it in different way. So I think coming to that part, just to close that thing, I think you should consider also as an artist, as you mentioned. In some way, it's like in some way we are kind of an artist, or I think the same in the things that you were mentioning. And coming to mention some recommendation that I will do to someone that is just starting, or even someone that has good experience, is the focus. I think it's something really common that when you have something to do, and even when you don't know how to start to do it, you always start to procrastinate and you lose focus, or even you have different kind of distractions. Like maybe you could have some kind of controlled distractions and some uncontrolled one. And even if you want, we can discuss a little further on those ones. But I think one of the best habits that you can start to develop is focus. There are different tools that you can use. I will just mention some that I think are really common. That is the Pomodoro. Some people use like this deep work that is just basically that you set a time frame, maybe 3 or 4 hours, and you will focus only on that thing until you have done that work. But I think it's something that you will need to start to develop. Uh, Focus in the specific task that you need to do. Because I think even as a, like I will say, experienced programmer, sometimes it's challenging because uh, sometimes even you think, oh, okay, it's going to be really easy, and then you start to do other things and don't focus and don't start the work. So I think one of the good habits that you should develop is start the work, and once you start it, focus one period of time on that piece of work.
Okay, agree. One of the recommended habits is focus. Sometimes it's really hard, especially as you mentioned. You mentioned control and uncontrolled distraction. I'm going to go back to that topic later because seems interesting. But yeah, to keep focus, it's always it seems easy. I mean, when you hear this, yeah, obviously focus. What cannot? But yeah, especially when working remotely, it's really easy to lose focus. I don't know what you guys think. Sometimes I lose focus really easy with, I don't know, with house things or some other things that I'm listening to something or watching something else, and then okay. So yeah, sometimes it's not the best idea. What else would you? I mean, what do you think, Victor? What else would you add, according in your opinion?
Well, more than adding, because there are a lot of things that Francisco and I gather frequently, and we talk about habits and things like that, because basically we give tips to each other so that we can become better. But something that I would like to mention is that the question could be like, but why habits? Especially, for example, here in Mexico, I'm not going to generalize, but as a culture, we usually don't like that, or we are not known for having good habits. But why do we need as software developers habits in our lives, specifically nowadays? Because as you mentioned right now, in regards that we can get out of focus because of house things, is because we are not anymore in the office. We are remote, so nobody is looking on our shoulder. And I'm not saying that somebody has to, but what I want to say is that if we don't have habits that help us to give an excellent work, we are going to do completely the opposite. not from one day to another, but within time. So basically, the habits are going to help us to become better developers because of those distractions that happen in our lives, regardless of the scenario. Usually, for example, I think all of us have families, so there's always something happening at the house. So we might lose focus. And if we arrive to a family house with good habits, uh, those distractions are not going to be that how can I call it, that loud. We're going to be able like to ignore them for a little bit so that we can finish the work. But if we don't enable or build those good habits, we're going to be distracted all the time.
Okay. I agree on that. Sometimes it's difficult. You mentioned sometimes it's kind of a cultural thing to get kind of distracted. What else would you add besides the focus thing and the distractions that we have? What else would you suggest to anyone in this world? Anyone? You, Francisco?
If you want, I would like just to maybe clarify something that we were mentioning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before that, we were just mentioning like some like distractions that are kind of controlled and some uncontrolled. When I was mentioning like we have some controlled distractions, I mean like when you have your phone, your notifications always coming on in the computer, or even around your house. Maybe you could have something that is doing some kind of noise to notify you about something. So I think those are the things that you can control and you can avoid to have this distraction, even if they are not making any sound. Let's say that you have your cell phone just beside you and it's just turning on the screen. So that will sometimes make you lose your focus just to take the phone and then watch what's going on. So those are the things that I think we can control and we should avoid, because most of the time they are just making you to lose the focus. And there are some things that you cannot control, right? Some Victor was mentioning some of them, like even when you are in your house, sometimes maybe if you have kids, they are going to come to your side. Maybe if you are in the workplace, some colleague is going to ask some help, or even if we are working remotely, you are going to have someone pinging you on the chat. So those are the things that you cannot control. So for those things, what we recommend is that you should welcome those things, and even what Victor was mentioned, sometimes we just discussed together about this kind of things, and sometimes Victor has recommended like, okay, the best option is just to set some time frame to attend that kind of people. Sometimes, in my case, if it's something urgent, then you need to switch the focus, right? All depend on the situation, and these kind of things don't work the same for everyone. So sometimes you need to know what works for you. But I think it is something that you should think about it, at least in the things that you can control. You should avoid it.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. There are so many control distractions that sometimes we don't want to control.
Yeah, definitely.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, the cell phone and all those things. Yeah. What do you think, Victor?
Yeah, I agree. I'm a huge advocate against cell phones. For example, personally, I don't sleep with the phone on our bedroom. I have a battery alarm, and many people say, "Oh, what about if an emergency happens?" Well, the phone is without Wi-Fi outside of the bedroom, and if an emergency happens, which hasn't happened, then it's going to ring. But I won't die if I don't have my phone on the bedroom, because most of the people we fall into this thing of let me swipe a little bit through any social network or videos before going to sleep, and that already affects your sleep. Also, personally, I check my phone usually until after I have done at least one development task at my work, unless I have something that I was telling to a friend, okay, I'm going to send you this tomorrow morning, which happens very randomly, but usually I try to have that rule on my life of not checking the phone. And basically I think that cell phones are against us if we don't know how to use them.
Agree. It's a great idea, what you said, maybe avoid. But that would be a great habit, not for, I would remove software developers, I would say for humans, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Totally recommended habits, just to do not lose focus on what you're doing. Maybe, avoid so much cell phone. So much, so much social network and so much just because people sometimes are hours like swiping, as you say, right?
Yeah.
Scrolling, swiping, and sometimes that's not the best before going to sleep and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, that many dopamine to our brains, it's harmful. So I know it's okay. Another way I was remember when Francisco mentioned about focus, and then you mentioned, if I remember correctly, that sometimes it's hard to be focused. A way to exercise our brains to be focused, and I'm going to sound like a douchebag maybe, but it's to read, man. Read, at least I'm going to open myself. It's not easy. I started reading unfortunately, until I was in college. Unfortunately. So I had to learn to focus on things regarding reading until I was already a grown up. So it's hard at the beginning, but that's a way to train our brain to be focused on something, to finish at least one chapter of a book, if not every day, which I try to, at least per week or something like that. That's going to do a way of exercising our focus. And then when we sit in front of the computer, it's going to be easier to be focused on what we have to do.
Totally. I second that. I used to do that as well. Like, because in this era, it's really difficult to put yourself to read, right? A book. I would say a traditional book, because you can have now electronic or audiobooks, but just to sit or quietly and start reading at least a chapter without and forgetting about all the noise in your life, it's not easy. I agree.
Yeah, it is not. I will never say, oh, I'm a great reader. I'm not. I still struggle with that, but it's like exercise. Everybody struggles with that, but it's something that we have to do and that benefits ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. To lose, to sometimes, because you might need to lose focus on what you were doing at work or what's going on in your life, right?
The other side.
That's the other side. You might need to lose focus, because now you need to focus on what you're doing, because you're reading. Now you need to focus, and then you need to concentrate, and it's difficult not to leave your cell phone, your whatever you're doing, and the TV or whatever, and then focus for, 20 minutes or whatever you want, or half hour or whatever you want to read each day. It's not easy. It seems like an easy task, but I agree. The concentration, and then because you can read and you can read fast, but then after 10 minutes you didn't understand anything because you are not doing it, because you're not focused.
Yes.
So that applies also to, as you say, Francisco, to software engineering. Sometimes it happens to me, because I have this bad habit of having my headphones and listening to podcasts or whatever while I'm working. Sometimes that's not the best idea, because you cannot focus 100%. Sometimes when you need to do some detailed tasks, because sometimes you need to design new things. Sometimes you need to do some special algorithms. Sometimes you need to do some things that require your concentration 100% there. And
Yeah, and actually, sorry, there are two things that we can mention here that also are going to help you because let's say that you need to work in something that is challenging. If you work out before that, or even you take a 10 minute or 20-minute walk, it's going to help you when you focus on that particular task. And maybe what I am going to mention is going to sound like the opposite, but if you are stuck with something that you are working on after some period of focus, then at that moment you need to step away from the problem because that is going to help your brain to switch and make some connections uh, to find the answer. And I think that is really common to everyone that you are working on a problem really hard, then you don't know how to solve it, then you go for lunch, you go for to do another kind of activity, and then the answer is coming to you because that is happening because that is how the brain is working. Even there is a really good book, sorry, that mention all these things. That is The Mind of Numbers. I really recommend that book to everyone that is listening to this. Uh, so I think if you do this kind of things, it's going to help you in that kind of situations.
Yep, totally. I mean, yeah, totally agree. Whatever, um, everything that we're saying, I feel myself like identified with many things. Sometimes, I mean, we can also share experiences that has happened to us. I mean, besides sharing recommended habits, or I mean, everything is based on experience, I guess, because we don't have the truth, we don't possess the truth, right? But based on experience, sometimes I almost every day I go for a walk. I mean, I work remotely at my home, where I have been working exclusively remotely at my house for more than 4 years or more before the pandemic. And obviously, you will have mental issues will come, right? It's really hard not to struggle when you're sometimes, even because I have a family, even with the family, and also will have you will need sometimes a disconnection, or you will need sometimes a relief. You will have to deal with anxiety, all those kinds of typical things nowadays. And yeah, I go for a walk almost every day. So I have, even my day can be difficult because there's a lot of things, but also sometimes, which is less, but there are days that I struggle because I have nothing. Because maybe it's a day of deployment and the workload is really low, and I feel like, come on, I feel really weird when I have nothing to do. I think I struggle more with those days, and I have to deal with. I start thinking a lot of things, and I have to deal with anxiety. And sometimes I go for a walk, and sometimes I start doing some other things, but it's not easy. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have experienced any similar things, or how have you dealt with these situations?
Yeah, well, if I may, uh, yeah, I think we all have. I was going to say, okay, I need to start with this. I mean, if we even have to take the dog for a walk, it's mandatory that we humans have to go as well. Basically, I don't know in what time of this pandemic or stuff, we forgot about that. Like that we didn't need to go for a walk or things like that. But basically, what I was going to say regarding my experience, I started running like since March 2020, near to the pandemic, and I didn't stop. I haven't stopped until now, and thank God I can say that I haven't dealt with any issue of any mental issue. basically like that, any anxiety of that. But because besides walking, I go for a run at least twice a week. But I did the experiment one day, and I spoke about this with Francisco. I did the experiment of not doing exercise for 2 weeks, and man, I felt really, really, really bad. I mean, common or easy problems regarding coding felt like a burden on top of me and things like that. But as soon as I did that as an experiment, because of course you read a lot of things on online and things like that. And I was like, okay, let me stop doing this to see if I can feel that type of anxiety and things like that. And yeah, it happens. But on the other side, one thing that made me tied myself to running, I'm not saying that everybody should run. I do recommend, but okay, that was my case again, is that I remember back then when I used to have like these coding problems that seemed very difficult. I did what Francisco mentioned a few minutes ago regarding stepping away of the problem. Maybe it was 5 o'clock, I step away from it. I went and run for at least 1 hour. And during that running, the solution came. And I can totally say that it happened to me more than once. So I started to making this connection that whenever I had a difficult coding task, at least for me, I analyzed it, and they went for a running, and then I had at least 50% of the solution. And the other thing that I was going to mention also in regards to the experience side is that exercise helps you regarding releasing natural dopamine and things like that. I mean, nice dopamine, I don't know how to call it, but that helps you with those type of issues that many people nowadays having. And I can say it, unfortunately, is because very few people goes out of their houses nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this relates also to the I mean, health issues that we may experience. I mean, a lot of people, especially people like us, I mean, in the software development, that our common work is to be sitting down in front of a computer for hours, just typing. There are a lot of health concerns. I mean, you already mentioned something more related maybe to mental health, because going for a walk, going for a run, then releases you of stress and a lot of stuff and makes you feel better in a summary, right? Sometimes it gives you some answers that you didn't have, because that's, as Francisco says, that's how your brain works. Sometimes you need to get distracted a little bit, and then helps you think outside the box for a while. But yeah, there are a lot of things in the health area that are struggles in our world, especially most of us. Well, I experienced during the pandemic, because normally I try to do exercise. During the pandemic, I reduced, obviously, because it was really hard. I mean, there was basically 1 year without going out and not barely moving. So yeah, I struggled physically there and mentally. But in your case, Francisco, what's your opinion on this? Whatever you want to share, if you have some experience or on this, or either some recommendations, or how do you deal with these concerns?
In my case, regarding when the pandemic started, sorry. So it was really challenging, as you just mentioned. I think for everyone, because one of the things that when we started to be isolated, it's something that you are not used to do, right? Sometimes you, at least you were maybe taking a walk close to your house, so you were doing some kind of exercise, and even especially for the people that it was going to the gym, they were not able to do it for some period of time. In my case, my personal case, I used to just go for some around 2 to 3 times per week, and then I stopped to do that. And something that Victor mentioned, and I think everyone that is working on this business start to face is that as software developers, sometimes you start to feel some pressure because you need to meet some deadlines. And when you start to do this exercise, um, any small problem becomes really big. At least that happened to me. I was frustrated. I was sometimes like not focusing on the work. Um, so it took me some time, even and all these things were caused mainly because uh, we don't have a really good habits at the end of the day. Because in my case, I used to work already remotely, right? But um, I wasn't like used to just stay at home 1 or 2 days. Uh, so it was in some way hard for me, being honest. Like uh, just focusing on the work, then in some way like switching to the family environment, but it was the same place. So it took me a while, and then I was just trying to go for a run at some hour that was more. The place was alone, so it took me some time, like just to get used to all these things.
Yeah, the pandemic was tough. We still see consequences of it because I mean the virus is here to stay, but at least we are on a better place now. But yeah, the consequences are there. I don't know. I mean, you already mentioned, Victor, that you like to run at least 3 times a week, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yep. I really enjoy that.
do you? I mean, that's what you like to do, or do you do something else just to keep you distracted or to keep yourself fit in the health, to keep you healthy?
Uh, I also started swimming a few months
Nice.
ago. So, but yeah, something that I have liked a lot about running is because that's a discipline that I never got to master when I was a kid. And I was like, okay, let me start trying to do this. And it helped me a lot in regards to patience. Now, and I mentioned this because we are talking about habits and we are talking about focus. Usually when you start running and when you run, it's not fun. I mean, you're tired and you lack air and things like that, or your muscles are not that strong. But when you are running, you are not going to finish your run in 1 or 2 minutes. You finish your run like in at least 30 minutes, or it could take up to 50 minutes. But when you start with that discipline, if I can mention it like that, uh, you are you start to notice more how impatient you are. Again, I'm talking about personal experience. So I started to notice how impatient I was because I started running, and after 5 minutes, I was already thinking in my head without knowing. But then I started like analyzing myself. Oh man, I wish this was already over. I wish I could have already gotten to the finish, to the finish line, and things like that. So that started to help me to realize, like, hey man, I'm really impatient. I have to get better at this. So running have helped me to be more patient. I'm not saying that I'm the most patient guy in the world. I'm not. But if I'm not now, I was less than back then. So that's why I have liked, and that has helped me to transfer what I do running at my work. And basically, for example, when a tough task comes, and usually I used to think like, oh man, I wish I already finished this. Now my mindset has changed, and I think, wow, this is very exciting. I don't know how to do it right now, but whenever I get it, which I'm going to do it, I will have learned something new, and that's how I keep myself like with a good mindset. And yeah, basically that's why it helps you also with your focus, and it helps you with your breathing. And also that's why I started swimming, and that's a different way of breathing. And breathing helps you with stress. Usually stress is made when we are coding, and basically if you notice yourself, sometimes we stop breathing for a few seconds, but during the whole day. So basically that's making physical stress upon your body. And I'm not going to exaggerate, but in many years, if you continue doing that, cancer has been shown that it can be caused because of lack of oxygen in the cells. So basically, that's why many people nowadays, that's a very common illness, unfortunately. So I started focusing also on my breathing and things like that.
Yeah, something that would seem really simple, right? Breathing. It's really
Yeah,
important.
it's not that simple.
Yeah, so that happens to me too. Sometimes we're like, oh, I need to start taking those deep breaths. And they make you feel relaxed and better. What do you do? I mean, Francisco, you say sometimes you go out for a run. Do you do something? I mean, just to keep you healthy or to keep mentally or physically? I mean, do you do any exercises or something?
Right now, actually, what I am doing is just I am coming in back to the office just to do some workout previous to the work, and also that is helping me to stay healthy and also feel better because I feel less stressed during the day. Even if it's a challenging day, I don't feel that stress that when you are not doing anything. Um, Also, that I think it's worth to mention that sometimes it's happening like when we are at the office or at your home, we drink a lot of coffee or we drink a lot of things, but we don't drink enough water. And I think this maybe could sound like not really important, but you need also to keep your brain hydrated to keep working, or at least in the best, um, or try to get the best performance from your brain. Because when you are de- dehydrated, uh, you got it right.
Yeah,
So
we need to keep ourselves hydrated. I think that's the word.
hydrated, yeah. And when you are not hydrated enough, you start to face some problems. Even sometimes you have some headaches, that kind of things. So it is something really important that you keep drinking water during the day. Also, that sometimes we don't focus as well is that we should step away from your desk, or you should walk at least 5 to 10 minutes each hour because even if you do some workout and you stay on your seat like 6 7 hours, that is going to really have a bad impact in your health. It's going to be better even if you just step away 10 minutes every hour because that will keep your body moving all the time and it's going to help all the process, all the natural process in your body. I think that that sounds kind of not common, but those are the things that we lose the focus and that are really important. Now that we're mentioning also these health concerns, we should also take care that what is the distance between us and the screen. Usually, it should be like you should be able to touch the screen with the palm of your hand, uh, and also that is going to help you. I am just trying to remember some things that I have learned on my journey, but I think it's really important that we as developers also be mindful about our health because at the end of the day, I think sometimes we just focus too much on the work and we lose focus on our health.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, those ergonomic things that you mentioned at the end are really important because it's. I remember we had to take so many courses on ergonomics. I remember, and for me it was what the hell is that? But yeah, it's really important. You need to be sit down at a specific, in a specific way and a specific distance to your monitor, as you mentioned, and it has to be at a specific height so your neck is not like this or like
Yeah,
this.
that's correct.
And obviously to try not to be sat down for so much time. We already mentioned at some earlier stages that try to stand up, go for a walk between your work. I mean, sometimes you will have endless meetings. Sometimes that's under your control. But yeah, try to go away for a while, and then I mean, you keep focus while you work, on focus when you go out for a walk for some 10 minutes and go back.
Yeah.
And then do your work. I do agree. I mean, I can share some. I mean, that has happened to me so many things. I mean, during the pandemic, I remember it was on December, I guess, because coming back on 2021, the pandemic was still here, but my physical activity was zero. And I remember I had a really lower back pain that lasted for many months, but really bad. I mean, normally I suffer from lower. I mean, suffer for many things, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a young guy anymore, so lower back pain is one of them. But I have like a lower back pain for at least 4 months that I couldn't go for a run because of the pain. I started running and oh no, I couldn't. That was it, and I was sitting down, and I had to stand up, and it hurt like oh. So that was the doctor said that's basically a concept, because I went to a doctor obviously, and thankfully it was nothing serious. It's just the consequences of doing nothing. That's the summary.
Yeah. Doing
That's the
nothing kills.
consequence of doing nothing, because your muscles are stiff. I might have done some movement and I broke because of doing nothing for so many months, right? So that happened to me. Besides so many other things that in my way I like to run. I mean, I used to run more early. I mean, before. Nowadays, what I do is I go swimming 3 times a week. I
That's
started
great.
swimming like 1 year ago because of. I mean, I enjoy running but I also have knee pain on my knee because of my age and of family things. If I go running, the next day my knee hurts. I still do. I cannot do it that frequently, but swimming, it's something I can do, and I do it 3 times a day. As you said, Victor, it's a different kind of breathing, because normally for all styles you will need to breathe from your mouth, and it's different. It's like a fast breathing.
Yeah, and you have to exhale very hard
really
in order
hard
to
and fast.
throw out all the water that comes into
Exactly.
your nose. And I think that also
Exactly.
makes your lungs stronger.
Hopefully. Otherwise I'm just
Yeah.
it is, and it's something that I started in my personal experience. I started doing because of my of my knees and my situation here, because it's exercise that doesn't hurt me. I like to do other things, but I mean, swimming is something I keep constant on. Sometimes I go for a run. Sometimes I play tennis. I'm really terrible at it, but I like to play tennis. On the physical sports side, that's what I like to do. And yeah, totally. I mean, whoever watches and is involved in this world, and especially, I would say, especially young guys, that when you are really young, I don't know if it happened to you. You're young, and then you feel good, and then you feel your you feel physically good, and you think that it is that your health is not gonna end. I don't know how to mention this.
The forever young era.
Exactly. You feel like forever young. That I don't mind being sit down.
From 20s to 30s.
Exactly. Normally in the 20s, right? You feel that you can be sit down, nothing happens. You still slim. But believe me, it will start to happen. So I would recommend at the young era, don't stop the physical activities because of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to be professional at work, and so it's okay to work hard. I mean, I also like to. I'm sometimes a workaholic, but not.
Yeah,
I mean,
most of
do not
software
reach
developers are.
exactly. Do not reach that point where it's not healthy, right?
Yeah.
What I like to well, at least what works for me is, yeah, at least in the morning I go swimming or do my physical activity without any excuse. After that, I start my day. At least I already did my exercise. And yeah, sometimes I can work as hard on my daily activities on the work on the software, but at least I did something. I still try to go for a walk. That's also for my mental health. I still have some other issues I need to remove, but at least
we all
have the.
Yeah.
I think we're not.
Yeah,
We're still
definitely.
humans. That's what has been working for me, especially that we are being sit down and working remotely. And but yes, again, I emphasize, I recommend do something. I mean, if you don't like swimming or you don't like running, do something else. There's a lot of things you can do. Even walking. Walking is one of the best exercises for your cardiovascular system. I don't know what's the name. It's one of the best. To go for a walk for at least 30 minutes or do something to keep you physically, and it will obviously will work physically, and it will work for your mental health.
Yeah.
I can guarantee. I don't know the truth, but I can almost guarantee that.
It's true.
Yeah, I think that is really important for all the people that is just starting, because as you mentioned, usually you start at your 20s. So I think at that moment you think that your health is going to last forever, but then after sometimes, well, I mean, after some years, you start to realize that you are having some other way. You also are having some other health issues. So it's really important that don't get that confidence that you can just work long hours and that is not going to have any impact. I think this advice is applicable in this case, that if you are busy, work out 20 minutes. But if you are really busy, work out 1 hour.
Yeah.
I think
I like that. I like that.
That is going to be really applicable. Even the advice, what is mentioned is that you meditate. That also I will recommend that to the people because that will help you to clarify the goals in your day. I mean, I don't meditate too often, but when I do, I will say that it's really helpful for me. And it's a practice that a lot of people think that is kind of hard. Something. I mean, you just need to try to focus, maybe just 2 minutes, but that is going to help me.
Totally agree.
I agree.
I liked your lines that if you're kind of busy, work out 30 minutes. If you're really busy, 1 hour. I like that.
Yeah,
So
that
the longer
helps
you work out.
to release like all the thoughts that are stuck, and yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah. Also, other thing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of recommendations on the health side, but again, for young people, we are all. I would say this is maybe in another subject, but at the end, we are all, or most of us, are not really that important to our companies. I don't know how to say this. Because I mean, especially after seeing so many layoffs in in technology companies, especially in the US. Just let's remember we still work at companies, and we are humans, and we are not crucial, or I don't know. In Spanish, it's imprescindible. I don't know the exact word in English, but we are not absolutely necessary to the company we're working for. I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't be professional, that you don't work hard. That doesn't mean that you work hard, but you keep in mind that let's not lose our lives on that.
Definitely.
Because at the end, it's a company. We are all human resources, and next day we might not be needed, and that's the way it is.
Exactly.
At least take care of your life. At least that part of your life is taken care of, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, excellent. Do you have any? I think we're almost on the hour, more than the hour. We're finalizing this. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
I think we just like
we have a lot.
With the focus. Maybe we can try to have another session later.
Absolutely. I think we just mentioned few things.
Yeah, and we just scratched the surface.
Exactly. We can have a next part of these topics.
Yeah, that's correct. Because actually, we just covered like just like the top of the iceberg. There are a lot of things that you can do to improve your productivity, and also like I think it's kind of a journey, right? It's not something that you're going to have just when you are starting in this business or as software developer. You will need to go over some specific process. Like sometimes you will be learning a lot of technical things. Then you will need to focus on your soft skills. Then you will need to focus on how to mix them. I mean, I will say that it's kind of a journey. It's not something that you can just go like in the YouTube video says like you become software developer in 3 months from zero to hero. I mean, I don't think that it works. That things works like that. I will say that it's not impossible, but I think it's not going to work for 99.9% of the people. So
I agree.
Agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, I think we can just try to have maybe another session and continue, and maybe in that we can try to share like more thoughts.
Let's have the next part. Yeah, I'm on board. Part two. Yeah, at least part two. Any final thoughts, Victor?
I will just say that, remark what we mentioned to any person that wants to get into the software developer job. I mean, regarding the habits, learn to be focused. Don't forget about doing exercise. But along with what Francisco mentioned about that this is a journey, I would say remember that we are humans and that we are resilient. So what do I mean by this? Don't try to have like everything in control. There are going to things that are going to be out of our control, and it's okay to have them. So, and that's going to help you to have a better journey throughout this industry. I call it basically learn to be agile. We can talk about that next session, but basically like the agile framework, we are focused on human. Our journey is agile. Sometimes things go great, sometimes things go wrong, but the only important thing is that you did your best in any of the situations.
Great. Yep. Summary for this session: enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
and take care of yourself. Enjoy the journey. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Let's end up with that. I like it. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Francisco. Thanks a lot, Victor. This was a great one.
Thanks, man, for inviting us. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Victor.
All right, and thanks to anyone who watched this or listened this. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.